let's talk about mergers and acquisitions. They're these huge, high-stakes moves, right? Launched with these grand visions of growth and dominating the market. But here's the cold, hard truth. A shocking number of these deals just don't work out. So today, we're going to break down the real reasons these deals fail, and I'll give you a framework to make sure yours isn't one of them.
So what's the big mistake? What's the one thing that separates the deals that fly from the ones that become total cautionary tales? It really all comes down to one critical error in how people look at the deal right from the very start.
And it's this. Most buyers get completely blinded by the potential upside. The synergies, the amazing growth, all the market share they're going to grab. But seasoned operators, the real pros, they're obsessed with something completely different. They are relentless about managing the downside. They know that protecting your capital is always, always job number one. Now, the most important thing to get is that these failures are not just bad luck. It's not a random bolt from the blue. No, these are predictable, repeatable patterns. They're systemic breakdowns that you can actually spot and neutralize, but only if you know where to look. So let's break them down into 3 core failure points. First up is evaluation. And let me tell you, if you get this part wrong, you're building your entire deal on a foundation of quicksand. The mistakes you make here are incredibly hard, sometimes impossible, to fix later on. This is really where the discipline of focusing on the downside has to begin. At the absolute center of evaluation is due diligence. But let's be really clear about what that means. Real due diligence isn't a checklist you run through to confirm what you hope is true. It's an active hunt. It's a skeptical search for risk. Its entire purpose is to find those nasty, hidden surprises, the skeletons in the financial closet, the legal landmines that can blow up a deal after you've already closed. And beyond just lazy due diligence, we see buyers stretch themselves way too thin financially. They either overpay in a bidding war or they take on this crippling mountain of debt that just suffocates the new company. They completely miss complex regulatory hurdles that can stop a deal dead in its tracks. And a huge one, they fail to see that the market itself is shifting, turning what looks like a great deal today into a terrible one tomorrow. Which brings us to one of the biggest traps in evaluation, the synergy trap. Buyers just fall in love with the promise of instant cost savings and explosive growth. But the reality? Come on, achieving those synergies is a complex, painful, time-consuming slog that almost never lives up to those rosy promises made in the boardroom.
So our second core failure point is integration. If evaluation is the blueprint, then integration is the construction site. This is the moment where your beautiful PowerPoint strategy gets a punch in the mouth from operational reality.
The breakdown here almost always happens in 2 ways. First, a shocking number of people have no detailed plan for day one, which just leads to absolute chaos. We're talking systems that don't talk to each other, customers falling through the cracks. It's a mess. And second, the silent killer of deals. Cultural misalignment. You just can't smash 2 company cultures together and pray for the best. It never works. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? When you merge different values, different ways of communicating, just different ways of working, friction is absolutely guaranteed. And without a proactive plan to manage it, that friction turns into a fire that just torches morale, productivity, and the entire value of the deal. And this leads us right to our third and maybe the most critical failure point, the people. You can buy the assets, you can buy the customer lists, the technology, but the knowledge, the experience, the relationships, that all lives inside people's heads, and those people can walk right out the door. The failures here are just devastating. Power struggles break out because leadership roles weren't made crystal clear from the start, and that creates a vacuum. Then you lose a few key employees, and suddenly there's a massive knowledge drain that cripples the business. And if the 2 sides have totally different goals for the future, you're not building a partnership, you're just managing a slow-motion collapse. Okay, so we've laid out the problems. How do the pros avoid them? They don't just react, they have a system, a pre-deal framework designed specifically to find and shut down these risks before they even get a chance to grow. Think of it as a pre-mortem. Instead of asking what could go right, you rigorously ask, okay, let's pretend this deal has already failed. What killed it? And then you build a plan for that. You actually assess the culture before you sign. You pressure test every single synergy claim with hard data and milestones. You lock in your key talent with the right incentives. You define exactly who is in charge of what on day one. And you model the financials to make damn sure the new company can actually survive the debt load. Now, this framework is powerful stuff, but there's one more layer here. There's an advanced insight that separates the very best from everyone else. That checklist is your defense system for a single deal, but the ultimate defense is played way before you even get to that stage. And here it is. The quality of your deal pipeline is infinitely more important than how good you are at negotiating. Why? Because when you only have one or two mediocre deals to look at, you start talking yourself into them. You get deal fever. A weak pipeline creates desperation, and desperation forces you to make terrible decisions. You start ignoring the very red flags we've been talking about just because you're afraid another chance won't come along.
So the single most crucial point is this. The best way to avoid a bad deal is to have a steady stream of high-quality opportunities in front of you. It gives you all the leverage. It gives you the confidence to just say no. It allows you to be patient, to be selective, and to only chase the deals that truly fit your strict, downside-focused criteria. Building that sourcing engine isn't a luxury. It is the ultimate risk mitigation tool.
At the end of the day, winning at M&A isn't about chasing every opportunity or being the smartest negotiator in the room. It's about a disciplined, systematic approach to killing risk from the very beginning. For serious operators, it's about focusing on the downside, building a quality pipeline, and letting the upside take care of itself.